Hi guys, I'm Sam, a first year med student in Australia, and this is From Ed to Med. I've just reached the end of my third week of med school. So in the last 2 weeks, we've had opportunities to go through a couple of body systems already, especially focusing on anatomy pracs. We focused on the gastrointestinal system, and we also looked at the respiratory system this week. So that was looking at lungs, trachea, bronchi, and actually seeing more plastinated models and some in situ as well. So it was really good opportunity to get in there and see things. I found that, especially with the gastrointestinal system, I was really amazed at how big some of the organs were. Do you know how big your liver is? It's friggin' massive. So I was really surprised at that. It's really good opportunity though to brush up on some of those topics I haven't touched since Year 12 biology, but I am finding some of the knowledge is starting to come back, and obviously it's a little bit more in depth than that. Who would have thought, first year med more in depth than Year 12 biology? You heard it here first. We also started our clinical skills workshops this week, and so the first thing was obviously the most important thing in medicine: infection control. So we had to learn how to put on and when to put on our gowns, masks, goggles, face masks. We were fitted for our N95 masks, which was fun because what they did, they put us in a big tube and they sprayed us with some really bitter solution and just to check if our masks were sealed properly. Luckily mine was. I know for some people they got a mouthful of it and have to come back later to get it refitted, but also very important, better to be sprayed in the mouth with something that's really bitter than, SARS. They also taught us about the importance of hand washing and correct hand washing procedure, which I'm going to demonstrate now. We had our first simulated patients this week in our communication skills workshops. So that involved us going into a room which had two parts to it and a one-way piece of glass. So we turned the light off in our section of the room where our group was waiting. One of us would go in and they'd get to talk to a simulated patient, so an actor who's employed to play a certain role. Each one of the roles was different and each one of us had to deal with a different situation. But for the first week it was really easy. All we had to do was have a conversation. I say easy, but have you ever tried talking with someone you just met for 10 minutes? 10 minutes time talk when there's a bit of pressure to perform because you'll be watched from a second room by your peers who, when you walk back in the room, will be judging you. And people wrote pages of feedback and obviously gave us very helpful feedback about our performance there. But it's important stuff, and of course you've all had doctors who have been able to communicate really well and have put you at ease. You've also probably had doctors who have not been great at their bedside manner, and so this is kind of teaching us how to be able to interact with people in a really positive way, be active listeners, and not to kind of doze off and miss a really important thing that might help the diagnosis later on. The room I'm actually in the moment is our PBL room. So in our PBL sessions, we've been working together in a group of 8 people with a facilitator and we presented with each of these patients, as I told you in the last video. So as you can probably see on the board behind me, there's a little bit of information. So we go through each patient, their profile, their history, what they present with, and all sorts of relevant things. Then it's kind of released in stages, and along the way we can highlight issues that we need to focus on. But you can probably see from the wall behind me, this is actually my group's PBL room, and we're almost about to have our second session for the week. So in our second session, we're going to go through a bit further into the case, and we're also going to highlight any learning objectives. So learning objectives are our main thing that we need to know. So learning objectives, so for this week, might be describe the growth structure of the respiratory system and how that functions in terms of our patient's case here. Or a learning objective might be something like explain why it's important to have a good communication or active listening skills with a patient. One of the other learning objectives this week could have been something like describe the oxygen dissociation curve and how that has changed by things like pH, CO2 levels and other things in the body. How has it moved to the right? What does it actually mean? So all these learning objectives are obviously accessible at the end of the year and obviously really helpful. As I said before, non-science background students, I haven't done this for a while, but I've been amazed at how much I'm enjoying the study and then learning about the body and how it actually interacts with itself and how it keeps itself steady, homeostasis. That's amazing. Like, our body is just amazing. We don't do anything, but it's doing a million different things inside us. So that's really good that I'm actually enjoying what I'm studying and it's helping me to actually do better at it, which is good. I was able to come back into the PBL tute last week and actually help out and volunteer some information, which, the first time I wasn't able to. So I feel like I'm keeping up. I feel like the workload, though, is really, really increasing, and it's getting to the point where now having to revise is taking time from having to look forward, and so it'll be a balancing act. And that's what they've said, that this first semester is all about working out how you study best and how you can do that going forward, because I've been told by various mentors and various people that the systems medicine, which we're going to start next semester, that's where it's going to get really, really tough. That's where it's going to be overloaded with a lot of information and with detailed information all at once. So the idea is get this stuff down, learn how to study properly, learn how it works for you, and then you can do better. Guys, thanks for listening this week. I'm sorry about lack of video last week. Hopefully it won't happen again, but med school, apparently there's a lot of work to do. If you enjoyed this week's video, please give it a like, a thumbs up down below. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below in the section and I will attempt to answer any and all of them that I can. And finally, if you like the channel and want to see more, every week we upload, so don't forget to hit subscribe, and I will see you next week on From Ed to Med. Hi guys, I'm Sam, and I'm a first year med school. Hi guys, I'm Sam, a first year med school. I'm a first year med school.